Just 6 hours before the Integrity OCTANE Series was scheduled to pack its bags and head overseas to Japan, well, simply put, plans changed. You might have remembered last night when the Ignite Series came to a close that we said we'd be heading over to the Twin Ring Motegi. That is not the case. iRacing with a big update to the NASCAR Next-Gen stock cars, and for the time being, racing at Japan with the fixed setup is on hold. So, made our decision to pack our bags and go stateside once again. It is Long Pond, Pennsylvania. This is a little bit earlier on the schedule than we expected, the Pocono Raceway. Welcome to the 15th race of the 2025 Integrity OCTANE Series season. From Pennsylvania, welcome to the Tricky Triangle. I'll be your host for tonight's event. I'm David Kreutz, commentating and producing. FTN Broadcasting returning to a venue the Ignite Series saw just a few weeks ago, in which DJ Stagner was able to come through with a strong performance, matching, of course, how he did in the Highline Racing League. The championship race in this series is as contentious as ever, and last night, Matthew Thunhorst took the Ignite Series championship lead. We could very well see another swap again today. Qualifying is halfway concluded. And last week, the Octane Series Championship was 6 drivers within 25 points, the closest margin that we've seen to the halfway point in our previous seasons. Now it's a little bit closer. Nate Campbell remains the championship leader, but Ethan Lane has cut that gap down to only 3 points. Lane only came away with 9th place last night by virtue of some strategy flaws. Nashville Superspeedway, Matthew Thunhorst with a fuel strategy win. Campbell, the rookie, is in the hot seat when you think about the championship lead. After last week, 4 drivers remain within 40 points of the top spot, 5 within 42. So by no means is this championship race done and done. Nate Campbell is going to have to watch out because Ethan Lane currently has the pole position, and he has it by a full 1/10 of a second. Blake Cannon is now running P2. Tom Wetmore is in 3rd. Cannon coming across the stripe here. Tom Wetmore in the 51. Now 182 thousandths off. Cannon diving in. Roadhouse Racing positions 2 and 3. Nick Tarbuck is in the top 5 as well. Jared Davis on the way in the white number 19. Not the best of races for Davis last night in the Ignite Series, so looking for a rebound, found himself outside of the top 30 for the majority of the day. Jared coming across the stripe, 21st first time by. He's going to move all the way up to 3rd on that second and final lap. Jared Davis with a jolt of energy gets up to the points. Josh Gallagher in the 96 waiting back, and there's Jacob Fife. Fife goes 15th after a podium last night, which keeps him in the top 10 running in the Ignite Championship. He's now 11th in points there. Jacob is top 5 here, 42 points back on leader Campbell. Kyle Trudell coming off a career best finish, 15 seconds to go. It looks like he won't be able to put any more improvements in. Brian Yazik jumps up from 31st to P9. The final driver now in the single digits is the 55 car, and it looks like he'll put in the last time of any driver. 34 have officially registered, and only 1 gets up to the top of the charts. That is the number 6 of Ethan Lane, grabbing another pole position. The 6 car gets up top, and for Ethan, it is his 4th pole of the season. Quick time, a 53.613, and the best qualifying position for our 80-lap feature has been decided. Just under 200 miles on the table tonight with our 80-lap race. Of course, it's going to be a thriller. Drivers getting back to work from the virtual Pocono Raceway. Now, this is a track that these drivers, most of them anyway, have seen. Whether it's been racing the Ignite Series this year or otherwise, we've been to the Pocono Raceway with the Octane Series before. Not at all a difficult track by virtue of learning it the first time, but when it comes down to mastering it, that's a different story. And that will be the story of the race, as it's already been in qualifying. Those with the most experience have risen to the top. Ethan Lane grabs again the pole position as he takes that number 6 car inside of row number 1. 53.613 for Lane is ahead of Blake Cannon. Cannon goes P2 with a 53.743. Cannon is a tenth of a second back on Ethan Lane. It looks like Ethan is in his own world as he gets up to the pole. Jared Davis goes P3 on the final lap he took, jumping from 31st up to 3rd. Tom Wetmore goes 4th, and then you'll have Don Stevenson 5th, and Nick Tarbuck concluding the Super 6. Just behind is going to be the driver of the number 2. That's Sam Nieto, and championship leader, that, of course, is Nate Campbell. Campbell has only 3 points to spare relative to Ethan Lane, and we could see, as we did last night, the championship swap hands. Pressure's on for the 45 as the 55 of Brian Yazik gets it up there. Brian tonight starts in 9th. Ryan Bean, P10. 11th place is Cody Smith, then it will be 12th place for Nicholas Ward. 13th then and there is going to be the driver of the number 14. That is Brock Potter. Zach Scrintonol goes 14th place. 15th is Kyle Trudell. Jacob Fife is 16th with 17th Nolan Potter. And John DeBarro, P18 in the 61 car. And then you'll have 19th and 20th. The 93 of Matt Sisler and the 04 of Galen Gidman. Gidman goes 20th, Ross Cato goes 21st with Bobby Keith, Michael Krobach, Woody Mahan, and lastly, in 25th place, it's going to be Chris Schetzler. To round out the top 30, Josh Gallagher, Sean Kalist, Aaron Eads, Matt Jonas, and Eli Cars in the 82. And for the top 35, well, we only have 34 today. The rest of your field includes Brad Patton, 31st, 32nd in Richard Smith, 33rd in John Steele, and Randy Fiash, 34th and last. 30 drivers opt to take a time, only one of which at the top of the board. Roadhouse Racing has 2 in the Super 6, but it'll be Ethan Lane and his number 6 car to the point by a 10th and 300ths. Ethan Lane with his 4th pole of the season from the Pocono Raceway. Now currently it looks like Lane is not taking any times on the circuit. Very few drivers have so far relative to the entire field. Here is the 51 of Tom Wetmore. Sunny skies all day long. That's the expectation as this track is rather warm. Ambient temperature of 74 degrees Fahrenheit gives way to a track temp of 110 degrees. Pretty big disparity already, and it looks like it's going to be upwards of 30 degrees to this point. 36 degrees of differentiation from the track temp to the ambient conditions outdoors. So tires are going to be dealing with a lot tonight, and it's a high-speed track, not only with speed, but different style of corners. The first corner nowhere like to the second and the third, and vice versa, which means that these guys are going to be having a difficult time working with tire strategy. Even if the numbers make sense, it becomes then about optimizing performance, which is difficult at a track that is so dissimilar to itself. It's an oval, but it is not at all the typical intermediate. Not a D-shaped oval, doesn't have the same front straightaway or same banking formula. It's not even like Darlington where it's egg-shaped, yes, but relatively speaking, it's just an oval. Nah, that's not the case tonight. It's the Pocono Raceway, the Tricky Triangle for a reason. With a more triangular shape than any other circuit in the NASCAR Cup Series schedule, this track gives way to more technical turns and a little bit more of that high-speed action with a sweeping front straightaway that brings drivers up to speeds north of 185 miles an hour. Just the same. Practice has concluded with Kyle Trudell putting down the fastest time. Trudell tonight's going to have to climb up to the top again after a second-place finish last week. He's looking to do a little bit more and find victory lane. Kyle starts 15th tonight, and there will be 80 laps for every driver to have a chance to go for their own. iRacing official pace car is due to lead them out, and the field is assembled again. Next-gen stock cars, as we mentioned, facing off with a big update tonight to how these drivers are going to be dealing with tire. The iRacing tire model is continuously updated, and based on multiple speculative reports, the new tire model, updated for 2025 and beyond, it is now on the next-gen stock cars, and this is a brand new situation for everyone in the field, of course, Ethan Lane included, Blake Cannon included, so we might see a little bit of a difference as to how drivers approach their rubber work today. Of course, that's still currently speculation, but according to multiple sources, including discussion on the iRacing forums, tonight's going to play out a little bit more in terms of speculation and maybe being a little bit more conservative with rubber than what we've seen previously. It will be our first race with a new tire model for the next-gen stock cars. Lane getting off a pit road. "34 drivers today. Ethan Lane, of course, has been with a head full of steam in both the Integrity Ignite and Octane Series. But if there's one championship, one regular season championship he's most viable for, it's this one on Tuesday nights. Lane already has himself 6 victories, nearly half the total he accumulated last year, and at the 15 out of 30 race mark, at exactly halfway, Ethan could match the pace he put up in 2024. A reminder, however, that Lane was only eligible for 28 races last year, as the NASCAR Contenders Series began with 3 weeks until the series concluded. Lane right now is next up to bat for the NASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series as well. Blake McCandless given a 1-week suspension for what was allegedly an intentional wreck. If another driver is given a suspension, which is possible, Lane would be given the opportunity to race in NASCAR's biggest sim racing stage. Until that point, he's having a lot of fun here in this series, and he's been giving these drivers a workload. Now, to prove that he's got that Coke-level talent all over again, he's got a chance to take the championship lead. Blake Cannon, previously holding the title lead in both the Ignite and Octane series, has fallen back ever since, dramatically on Monday nights, but delicately so here. He is 54 points back on Ethan Lane, and he could remedy that tonight. At least partially anyway, but the competition is thick. Outside row is going to be Roadhouse Racing. Ethan Lane in the number 6 holds his own on the bottom. Welcome back to the Pocono Slopes. It's time to go racing again from Long Pond. The United States holds its own as we head back to Pennsylvania. And now, no longer is it packing bags, it's pushing through turns 1 and 2. We're underway from Pocono. Big slide! Jacob Fife is spinning. Caution's out. Nicholas Ward with a massive save. Fife with minimal damage. And we're going to restack them and re-rack them again. I think everyone got away okay from that one. Could have been a lot worse, but here's what happened. Ward was up high, and you could see going into turns 1 here, Cody Smith contact Scrintinol into Ward, and then Jacob Fife was caught up in it. As Fife went high, he hit the brakes and did a great job of getting away from Ward here, but as you could see, it cost him because he slid up the track. Every other driver gets away. Tire scuffing for the 36, minor contact for the 97. That's Nicholas Ward and Zach Scrintinol as well. Yellow flag out to begin this race, and it looks like immediately we are brought to a standstill. The field should be fine to continue. Ethan Lane has the race lead, the top 10, with only a few switches at the back end of it. You'll see now 8th place starter Nate Campbell getting up to 7th. Sam Nieto drops back to P8. Ryan Bean gets the better of Brian Yazik. They'll swap positions 9 and 10. Bean now in the single digits. Field is going to get back to working before lap 5 here. Ethan Lane coming across with the iRacing official pace car. 2 laps to green, nobody going down to pit road at the front of the field anyhow. And it looks like very few giving it a shot to the inside already. Here's Jacob Fife. Fife is now 33rd, and it wouldn't really harm him all too much to go down to pit road, except for the fact we only have 3 extra tire sets to work with and 4 total. So if we see more green flag racing from here, maybe there's going to be a reason to hesitate. But Fife comes in, as does Randy Fiash. You'll see Richard Smith as well. Brad Patton coming through. So the back part of the field has decided now's the time for Sean Kalist, and also you'll see Nolan Potter. Matt Sisler on the way in the 93, so you'll see about 10 drivers heading down to pit road. John Steele, the only one of which not to start. And now, Ethan Lane putting it together up front. We'll restart at lap number 5, and that'll give us 76 laps to go on the day. For those who are interested, the Twin Ring Motegi is still potentially going to be on the Octane Series schedule. This was an unexpected decision based on iRacing maintenance calls, and if drivers look through their setup options, it looks like right now the Motegi setup has been at least temporarily restricted, and we could see for the time being that's going to cause a big problem. If we don't have a setup to race at, there's nowhere else we can go using iRacing's fixed setups. Every driver having the same equipment under them, and that makes it a very level playing field as to whose driver skill can shine the brightest here. Now, for the time being, Motegi is temporarily sidelined. We'll see whether or not it's officially brought back. That is at the discretion of the Integrity Racing League admin crew, who are open and willing to the possibility. We just have to see whether or not these next-gen stock cars are able to handle it again. Ethan Lane on the bottom. And it looks like the majority of the field still in that initial formation. Luckily, Jacob Fife slid up and out of the way, which meant that everyone else got around and under him here. Scrinton will give a quick apology to Nicholas Ward, but for all intents and purposes, they should be able to keep on going with little issue. Zach now finds himself 26th from 14th. Nicholas Ward is going to be 12th to 14th, so he's dropped down 2, while Scrintonal's dropped down 12, both of which losing time, of course, tentatively speaking, but a lot of time to recover, so it really isn't the most worrying of things since everyone gets away. Side by side through the tunnel turn. Lane is looking to keep what has been a dominant streak as of late continued on. He swept the week last week anyway. The Octane Series went to Nashville, and it was the Night Series that went to Phoenix, in which he was able to come away with about 248 laps led. Now, he didn't lead all too many last night, and there's not going to be a chance to lead more than 100 today, but Lane could very well keep the good times rolling for the 6 crew and make it the 3rd consecutive week he has won at least one race. Watkins Glen swept the week, was able to do it all over again, Phoenix and Nashville, and now it's about time. We'll see if he can kick it well for our first restart. Back all the way from the Pocono Raceway. Hopefully green flag laps are awaiting us. Restart number 1, the 6 team brings them through. Yellow flag is out once again. Caution, and this time it is massive, as you can see. And you got the field parked coming out of 1. Bobby Keith, Matt Sisler, Woody Mahan, Randy Fiash, Jacob Fife is at a full stop, and Brian Yazik is up and over. Are they going to flip the 55? Don't think it's possible. Sean Kalist is going to dump him offside. They're still working on Yazik here. Can they get him upside down? Yes! Yazik is flipped. He'll be able to continue, but watch this! Second consecutive restart with another issue. Yaz got the worst of it here. But of course, many others were involved, so take a look. You'll see Sam Nieto and Nate Campbell side by side with each other, and it looks like Nieto drifts, but it's going to be contact between Jared Davis and Tom Wetmore that begins it. Then Nieto cuts low to try and escape it. Wetmore, like a can opener, rips through Brian Yazik, Schetzler into the 96, and that's contact big time for Josh Gallagher, Bobby Keith, John DeBarro, Matt Sisler, Woody Mahan, Sam Nieto, you see him, Sean Kalist, Nolan Potter, Aaron Eads, just to name a few. And Yazik with the nastiest of rides. Take a look on board with the 55 car, who faces cataclysmic trouble. Rarely do we see this happen at Pocono. It's a fast track, but not often is there opportunity to send a driver slamming upside down. Sean Kalis is able to help Yazik get to pit road under his own power, but he's still a lap behind the field here. As is Sean. It looks like they'll sacrifice in that. Now we got drivers coming off of pit road again. That's the back half of the field. 7 laps in out of 80. We will restart at what appears to be lap number 9 now. Got about 15 drivers staying on the racetrack. Michael Krobach, John DeBarro, Nicholas Ward, Brian Yazik, Sam Nieto, Schetzler, Kalis cars all getting extensive damage repairs. What a hectic start it has been tonight. Top 2 remain the same, but the top 10 is looking different. 13th to 10th for Brock Potter, 15th to 9th for Kyle Trudell, 11th, 8th Cody Smith, and 10th to 7th Ryan Bean. Two restarts so quickly are going to leave us with just over 70 laps on the table today, and a lot of drivers have made their way down to pit road, so take a look at the numbers in that respect. Currently speaking anyway, we're looking at what has so far been a tricky night. Of course, yellow flags making it a big challenge, but also because these are long laps, the numbers game changes immensely. If you take a look at tire stint data, it's going to be even more evident to that. While the top guys have remained out in front and have not gone down a pit road at all, the back half of the field, and we mean almost the entire back half, that's where it becomes harder to predict what's going on than most other starts to a race. Usually in the first 10 laps, drivers shy away from pit road, but from 11th on down, the field has gone in, many of which more than once. So whether or not that 5 to 6 lap differential is going to mean something comes down to whether or not we go green from here. Lane could be saving big, and actually if we take a listen here, yeah, absolutely is. Ethan Lane clutching and coasting right now, which is what we saw Matthew Thunhorse do to win last night. So already you're starting to see the fuel game being played thanks to how troublesome it's been starting this race. Second restart of the day, lap number 9. Still looking to get our first green flag lap in, and Lane gets another chance to be its leader. Top 5 with some minor shifts. 6th up to 5th, Nick Tarbuck. 5th up to 4th, Don Stevenson. The moves have been minor. but noticeable, and that might play a little bit more into this race and its strategy as it all progresses. Majority of the field has gone down to pit road at least once. Here we go again. Second restart, lane launches. Now's the big test. Can we stay green? Stevenson blocking big down the long pond straight. At last, lap 9, the first fully green lap of the day. And we're underway here from the Pocono Raceway. It just took a little while to get things moving, but a lap like that is going to set the tone for the rest of the night. Almost always does. Sometimes the challenge is just getting to that point, and from there on out, we've seen the field do a remarkable job in the last few weeks, not only the Ignite Series, but also the Octane Series. We've had less than 5 cautions in the previous 3 races. Tonight is going to be 2 already, but I would be doubtful that we get any more than 2 extended, which means I don't think we're going to see more than 4 cautions on the night at the absolute most. 10 out of 80 here. Ethan Lane going to jump out to half second over Blake Cannon. And it looks like side by side, Don Stevenson and Nick Tarbuck. Tarbuck now going to put himself in the 5th position. Don Stevenson getting a little bit closer to the podium. Don, a driver who excels at the road courses in the Octane Series. He's got that one Charlotte Roval win of note, and that perhaps being the most unexpected of victories in the 2023 season propelled him to a chance at the championship in the penultimate round of the playoffs. Pocono Raceway, some say driving more like a road course than any other oval in stock car racing, and that's because while it's a high-speed track, oftentimes you've got to switch gears. It depends, of course, on how your car is set up, but we do see drivers using 3rd and 4th gears throughout this track. Now, a little bit further behind, as drivers get up to about 195 off exit, they're going side by side. Take a look at this. You'll have Matt Sisler cutting down and in on Nolan Potter. Potter to the low side, Ross Cato chasing after, and Matt Sisler getting a little bit further under through 1. It looks like the advantage is clearly with Nolan Potter, though, in this fight, as Matt jumps back in a line. Nicholas Ward tries to go at it again, just can't quite get there. Lap 12 of 80 now. Nate Campbell in the number 45, watching for another shot here. Campbell, the championship leader coming into the day, of course, has a lot to do from here. He's got Ethan Lane as his big title rival, and as it stands, he's leading and he's keeping that advantage. Ethan is poised tonight to come out with the championship lead, which will be the first time all season that he has had it. Not yet able to take it in either the Ignite or Octane Series, and this would be the very first time he does so in either of these championship quests this year. Looking for what would be his 7th win on the campaign in 14 races. 50% win rate, matching his total from last year, of course, in terms of percentage. And for what it's worth, Ethan Lane has made 12 starts, so he has gone 6 for 12 so far, 50% in the races that he's been in, and nearly 50% in every race, even those he did not attempt. Coming out of turn 3. Blake Cannon now going to be in 2nd place just behind him here. And you'll see 174 miles an hour and backing it down. Cautions out for the 3rd time tonight. Matt Janas quickly down to pit road. Yellow flag is out. And take a watch at what happened. It's our third caution of the day, and it looks like again trouble strikes the field. Nolan Potter digging to the inside, and it was a contentious battle to begin with, then contact through one. Janas hit the brakes, looked like he could have saved it, and he does get into the wall and backs it down. Yellow flags out. Tom Wetmore spins after. So not just Janas, it was multiple incidents. And the yellow flag's out for the third time tonight. Watch what happens now with Tom. It looks like he spun out of avoiding the drivers ahead of him here. Yep. As Janas went up the track, Wetmore ends up hitting the curbs. Galen Gidman spins on his own, then Josh Gallagher tags the 51. And a chaotic start tonight. And another wreck. Galen Gidman hit the bumps wrong and went all out of sort. He's lucky he didn't hit anything. Take a look aboard with the 04 car, because it very well could have been a massive hit for him. Sliding up the track as opposed to going down was a difference maker, and Gidman is one of the many who has suffered from inadvertent tire scruffing. Caution's out. Pit road is jam-packed. Ethan Lane decides to remain on the circuit, but let's see who of the many here wins the race off pit road. Don Stevenson going to be beat out now by Brock Potter. Tom Wetmore right beside Stevenson. Then it'll be Nolan Potter, Ryan Bean. You'll have Randy Fias, Zach Scrinthal, Ross Cato, and then Jacob Fife. 15 of 80. Ethan Lane has himself already out in the head, as Galen Gidman is now one of the last to get moving. So a third caution in 15 laps. A little bit trickier tonight to get green flag racing, a little bit more perhaps than we expected. It's a big circuit, and a well-known one at that. For the Pocono Raceway to cause so much trouble, well, that's just the trick of it. You might think it's simple just because it's a high-speed, 2.5-mile oval circuit, but oftentimes we don't know what to expect at this track, and it looks like so far it's proven us wrong again. Out of turn 3, 1 lap to green. We will restart at lap number 17 now. Down the Long Pond front straightaway, Ethan Lane has so far led every lap of the day. Biggest mover inside the top 10 is a very familiar face in that perspective, of course. It's Brad Patton looking to go for hard charging once more. 31st up into 8th. So he's already put more than 20 positions ahead of himself in qualifying. In fact, he's gained 23 of the 3 drivers who started this race without taking a qualifying time. He is far and away ahead of the rest. 31st to 8th is going to best Randy Fiash. Fiash is up 11th from 33rd to 22nd, and it's going to best the number 27 spot, racing-wise. That's the 23 of Richard Smith, 32nd to 27th, gaining 5 places. Fiash is in a league of his own right now, and he's going to have to compete with the big league, as he's now up there, potentially with a chance for a top 5, if not more. Ethan Lane has decided to be one of those few holdouts and remain up and out in front of the circuit. You'll see still that through these first 16 laps, Ethan Lane and Blake Cannon have remained on the front row for every restart. now, only 6 drivers in the field have not gone to pit road. Everyone else from Patton on back has visited at least once before. And it looks like now your only holdouts are your leaders through a quarter of this race. The expectation for Lane now is just to hold out, have the newer rubber later, and if things remain dicey, he'll have the edge in bringing more stuff to the table in the crunch. So far, it's worked out well. Lap number 17, Ethan Lane has the lead, but he's got less backing now from the new tire brigade. It's going to be a car length between he and Cannon, but again, Ethan gets the jump for restart number 3. Lane pulls ahead, and with him, he gets in the wall. Ethan Lane, big slam out of 1. That'll cost him the lead and the podium and the top 5. Ethan Lane with a fundamental error out of 1 and an unforced one at that. Dropping back out of the top 5, new race leader, it's Blake Cannon. And what a blunder that was for the 6 team. Now to drop back, Cannon takes the point, and it's going to be side by side and jiggling off of turn 3. Contact between Tarbuck and Davis. Jared not able to get there. Nick Tarbuck maintains. Now watch back for Ethan Lane. Lane is now in the 8th position, and he's going to have to work up in front. In dirty air. Oh, Brad Patton goes. That's the 7 car down to the inside. Call on the field. Yellow flags out. It's the 4th time tonight. This is going to prompt Lane to go to pit road. We might see Cannon stay out, but Brad Patton, another case of scuffed rubber. And another driver pulling through an incident. For Brad, coming up from 31st on the grid and getting as high as 6th at that time, looks like Lane makes contact and nudges him down the circuit. Simple as that, 2 cars involved. Patton lucky not to hit the wall there. But he's going to lose all that track position he had previously. Brad now runs in 27th. All the while, Blake Cannon has the lead. Watch what happens now for Blake Cannon, as this next decision is going to be critical. He could, of course, decide to make it down and into pit road. And that might be the easiest thing to do, but he's finally got the race lead. He's got it wide open and up in front, and I think that's going to be the most exciting thing for Cannon to have if he wants to go a little while longer. Maybe, in his case, it's better to stay out, only because, of course, he'll be able to use a little bit less of that rubber to push through. I don't think he's going to be saving fuel by any means, but we've had so many cautions that the issues of fuel have become less so. We'll see what Cannon decides. Going to be a no-doubter, however, for Ethan Lane. He's going to head down to pit road. Inevitably, he was going to. But an early blunder going to cost him the race lead, and he'll drop through alone. Wetmore, by proxy, going to gain a spot there, putting him up to P8. Blake Cannon in the 44, side by side now with Nick Tarbuck. And 2 drivers who won races last year on the front row. And that sounds maybe a little bit less impressive than it really was, because between these 2 drivers, they won 5 races in a season where only 4 drivers, or rather 5 drivers, 4 full-time, 1 at all. Blake Cannon was the only non-full-time driver to win a race in the Octane Series last year, collecting his first of his career, and he was able to do so in the Ignite Series as well. Cannon had to go up against that big 3, Tarbuck being one of which, and it looks like again, the best of the field rises. We'll restart at lap number 22 here, and that brings us to just about, give or take anyway, 59 laps remaining. So the first quarter of this race, moving through it slowly but surely here. Definitely not the race pace we expected from Pocono so far. A lot of starting and stopping by virtue of now 4 yellow flags. Sean Kalist going to be waved around the iRacing official pace car, so it looks like he'll remain on the lead lap. Cannon out of turn 3. Jared Davis back to his qualifying position of 6th. In the top 10, Brock Potter from 13th to 10th. 28th to 9th is Aaron Eads. 12th to 7th, Nicholas Ward. 15th to 6th, Kyle Trudell. And 11th to 4th, Cody Smith. Those are your top 10 guys who qualified outside of the top 10. So far, it looks like more and more of those guys from the back half of the field are mounting a charge than ever prior. Blake Cannon getting his first chance to get the restart his way. So far, in our previous 3 cautions, and of course the initial race start, it was all Ethan Lane. Lane now finds himself 21st. Now, the only good thing is for his sake, that yellow flag came out very quickly after he made that big mistake, getting up in the wall out of turn 1 and giving up nearly 10 positions in just 25 seconds. Currently, Lane has himself just outside the top 20, but that could change, and it could change fast. Lane is not a driver to shy away from the pressure, and not a driver at all to not expect, shall we say. You should expect him when it comes to resurging. Gonna take some time, but strategy plays out well, or at least as good as it could for a big incident like that. Back to business, and at the helm will be Cannon with Nick Tarbuck up high. iRacing official pace car lets loose, and for the 4th time tonight, we are getting things going all over again. Inside groove with a new leader, outside more of the same as Blake Cannon gets the ball rolling, and Jared Davis immediately follows. Green flags out, side by side behind, and it's all Cannon into 1. Blake gets into the opening corners well, doesn't make contact with the wall there, and while close, he uses up just about every inch. Blake Cannon, Nick Tarbuck, Jared Davis, that is your top 3 for the time being. And you look behind, Nolan Potter going to be chasing after Zach Skrintenall and Matt Sisler here, and rather, Zach Schrittenthal. That's the number 20 car. So for Zach right now, 14th to 14th, looks like running just about as neutral as they come. Middle of the pack, same spot he qualified in is where he is racing. And for Schrittenthal here, it looks like no improvement, but no regression, and a lot of time to go from step 0 and move further ahead. It's all about resetting yourself for the later portion of this race, and I think not only for the 20 team, as inside they'll go 3 wide with Aaron Eads. That's going to include Zach and Brock Potter. That what you're seeing right now is far from indicative of what it's going to be later on in the race. Ethan Lane gets boxed up high. Aaron Eads going to leave him there. The Carvana Toyota Camry now takes it through into the tunnel turn on the higher groove with Brad Patton. Patton's watching behind. Lane wiggles. Won't make contact, but it will slow him down. Ryan Bean to the inside of Chris Schetzler and Zach Strittenthal all at once. Watch out now for the 26 car. Bean looking ambitious, but he won't get past Zach. At the line, that'll put Zach up to 13th from 15th the lap prior. Nolan Potter 12th, Matt Sisler in 11th, and Don Stevenson P10. Blake Cannon leads by 0.4 of a second, and it looks like so far tonight, with the exception of Lane losing the lead with that contact in the wall, no driver has lost the race lead in active green flag battle, which means that defense has been impeccable and the offense has been flawed tonight for a driver trying to move into the leading spot. If you have it, it's very likely you will keep it unless you make an error by yourself. And so far, Blake is showing that what Ethan Lane did can be replicated. Of course, maybe when Ethan gets up there, he'll be able to take it right back, but for the time being anyway, he's got no problem keeping it ahead. "24 laps in out of 80. Cody Smith is going to be as high as he's been all night long position-wise, as is Kyle Trudell. And Trudell riding that wave of momentum after a remarkable run just last week. Trudell first showed that flash of brilliance at the 1.33-mile circuit in Darlington, South Carolina, and it looks like he is doing so once again today. To the inside on Cody Smith for 4th place, Trudell believes he's got a shot. Kyle moved up to 26th in the championship. Now, Kyle only has himself 6 races this season, and for any driver who has 6 or more starts, well, he finds himself pretty far behind, but if you have 6 or less, he's leading that championship, and he's ahead of drivers who have up to 14 races completed just off the 6 he's made. Kyle is very likely not going to make the playoffs this season, but in the racing that we have seen so far, he has been impressive, and it looks like he's been able to put even more into the car as of late with that recent start in Darlington where he showed a lot of potential, and of course what he was able to do last week in Nashville, and he was able to execute on that potential and get up to the podium. Trudell again is in the top 5, and I'm sure he would love to keep the ball rolling and continue succeeding today. Tom Wetmore going to keep on watching him. Tom is in 6th, and he's been the winner of both crown jewels so far this season, Daytona and Charlotte. So far, though, looks like the top 10 going to be a relatively calm affair. Nate Campbell is now ahead of Ethan Lane, and it looks like he might have the advantage in the championship race tonight. After all, Campbell again coming in 3 points up on Ethan Lane, and if he maintained this position gap that he currently has, he would be able to leave Pocono with about a 10-point edge. Now, Ethan Lane is still on the way up, and it looks like he's still actively progressing here, but tentatively anyway, 15th. I think Ethan's going to move away from that, move higher, and get further through. So Nate Campbell's got to watch out. Nate is in 8th. Lane is right now in 15th, but as he makes this move on Nolan Potter, that'll be P14. Lane at the line, just barely beaten out again. But it was a close one, and it looks like Lane's got the momentum for the next coming corners. Nolan Potter takes a second groove. Looking ahead, Ryan Bean going to get very squirrely there, 3 wide, and Bean just cannot hack it out of 1. Just looks like a driver error there, and it looks like turn 1's been the trickiest of corners tonight. Interesting, because that's where the most banking is for the drivers, and usually that support that you get, propping yourself up to the outside wall with banking, helps the driver out more. Now, Pocono Raceway has completely different turns depending on where you are on the racetrack here, so let's begin where Blake Cannon is. As he comes across the long pond front straightaway, he'll be making his way toward the 14-degree banked corner known as Trenton. The former Trenton Speedways, where this circuit, of course, was inspired by for its first corner. High speed, more banking than anywhere else on the track, and that allows drivers to plow in a little bit further with more speed and pull more out of the first exit. And if you got more speed coming through one, you'll make the best out of turn two. The tunnel turn, modeled after the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Careening through this corner is a lot like the open wheel racing, where you line up the apex perfectly through the middle and you try not to hit the yellow line. Lastly, of course, you've got the 6-degree corner, based off the Milwaukee Mile. You can try to go down to the apron, but it's not as helpful here as it is in West Allis, Wisconsin. Making it around once again, it looks like tonight, even though there might be a little bit less assistance through the other corners, turn one has really been the difficult one for the field, and it showed there for Ryan Bean as he now drops to 17th. Lane, mind you, is now in 13th place. And coming up on Matt Sisler. 30 laps in out of 80. Ethan Lane is now approaching the top 10 once more. I would say that you can't count him out, but it also becomes the question of how far can he go? A top 10, even with that error, I think would be an inevitability, but winning this race outright, that depends on a lot more than just recovering, because while you can recover and make your way up through the back half of the field and even the back half of the top 10 with relatively ease, depending on how good of a driver you are, those final spots are a different animal. Not only because those are the best drivers on the track outright, but also because you've worn out your stuff getting there. So a driver's never going to have 100% going at the guys up in front when they're coming from the back. So that becomes the bigger problem for Ethan Lane. What's he going to do when he gets to that point? Is there any anticipation as to pushing harder, or will he wait for green flag strategy to help him out? That also might be the way to go as Zach Brittenall makes his way up to the high side of the circuit. Nolan Potter drops low as Schrittenthal loses the position. 31 out of 80 here. All Blake Cannon with 0.3 behind Nick Tarbuck. While leaders have maintained a calm demeanor up in front, the racing's been a little bit more contentious in the back half of the mid-pack for the majority of this night. You'll see there Chris Schetzler is going to be single file, but we got ourselves trouble. Jacob Fife spins, cautions out. It's going to be your 5th of the day. Watch this. And Jacob came around the line spinning, so we'll show you the last lap that built up to it. Fife was loose through one, and that was the first sign of trouble. But down the front straight is where things got bad. Out of 2, you'll see there a bobble from Ross Cato, but when things get dicey is out of that final corner in Milwaukee. Chris Schetzler, Galen Gidman, side by side up the track. Fife was low, and then they collide. Contact. Schetzler in the wall. Fife was low, and it looks like he lost it on the way down. That's interesting, because then you see more contact. Now, I'm not quite sure what set him off when it looked like he got away straight from that incident. And we'll pull an immediate replay to fast track it back to that point. Interesting to see, because Jacob Fife right now, well, he's going to be on the racetrack, but even still, it looks like he got loose on his own. And he hit multiple drivers on the way out there. As you can see, field scatters to get out of the way. And it's the 82 of Eli Cars who catches a piece. But for Jacob Fife, that was of most interest, as it looks like he slid after the contact with Schessler. 33 laps out of 80, fifth caution of the day, and we are once again pacing. Blake remains out. Kyle Trudell is going to fake it, but Nate Campbell makes it down and in. As Nate Campbell opts into pit road, a few other drivers select the option, Ryan Bean, one of which there. You'll also see Brock Potter, Brian Yazik, and Nolan Potter as well. So again, the back half of the field exercising pit road, and we've seen that pretty frequently today. Michael Krobach there. You got Jacob Fife, John DeBarro. With all these yellow flags, we still don't quite know what the winning call is on pit road. We're expecting for the leaders that there still is going to be one more pit stop, but they're running out of time to decide when that will be. We're going to have, give or take, about 45 laps to go from here. Presumably, they could split it under green, but we don't know just yet when that decision will be made. It also could be under caution. We'll go green at lap number 36, and that means it's official. 45 to go from this point. Brad Patton's been able to make up most of his hard charge again after contacting the previous yellow flag. Now, Patton 31st to 14th has made it up a total of 16 spots. And this will be officially his 17th as he makes his way out. '29 on the lead lap. Eli Carr's last time by was the final of which. It looks like now Eli's going to get back going. Richard Smith also on the way. Blake Cannon in the number 44 coming across the line. Double file they'll go. Cannon and Tarbuck remain leaders, and they held that stint pretty well. It was a dozen laps worth, and there was no wavering or faltering across either of them. And I highly doubt that's going to change. Ethan Lane notably is back in the top 10 though, and now is ahead again of Nate Campbell. Cannon low, Tarbuck high. Green flag set to go out again. Yellow flags have been prominent in this first half, and we'll see whether or not we can shake those jitters and get everyone going together for the rest of the way. Tire strategy, a big question mark up in front. If you look at your top 10 right now, it is pretty scattered. Blake Cannon has still yet to go down to pit road, as have your top 5 guys, but then you got Wetmore on a, of course, 15-lap stint to begin with. Now he's been on a 20-lap run. Nicholas Ward last went to pit road at lap 8. Ethan Lane last went in at 20. And then you had Stevenson and Matt Sisler there. So all of which together are on different strategy runs. You've got about 4 calls in the top 10 going at the same time. And it's about time now for the 44 of Cannon to show him what he's got once more. Cannon set to take the green flag, and alongside him, it'll be Nick Tarbuck. Restart number 5, double file they'll go, one in the back. Looks like Bobby Keith won't be able to get up to them, but the field gets away well. Green flag's out again. Cannon with the jump. Jared Davis quickly follows. Field goes 3 wide. Kyle Trudell sees to the inside of him already. Don Stevenson, Ross Cato also making moves. Oh, that's going to be contact directly. Tom Wetmore gets away from it, but Don gets close. Ethan Lane now finds himself up inside the top 5, but right behind him, they are jousting for position. And I'll tell you this much, it's risky, really risky to see that door-to-door contact. They're 3 wide and locking in Galen Goodman. Richard Smith with Brad Patton. Patton up high, cautions out again. It's going to be Eli Cars in the 82. 6th caution of the night. And although Eli was in the back of this field when we restarted just a lap ago, so quickly did he involve himself, or rather get involved with the next caution. Watch this. Eli right there with Randy Fiash. Also, you'll see Michael Krobach dropping in. Toe-to-toe alongside the field. With Krobach hanging to the inside, the contact was right then and there. Eli gets loose. John Navarro might have just finished him off there, but Eli slides in the grass out of turn 3. And the field backs off. .38 laps in out of 80. We're going to be going back at it at just about our exact halfway points. Just over 40 laps to go, looks to be the estimate from here. And again, the leaders remain out. We got 5 drivers who have not gone down to pit road, and even with the guys on new rubber, they haven't made their way in. The iRacing official pace car goes double wide. Nicholas Ward, Kyle Trudell, Don Stevenson, Matt Sisler, Nate Campbell, all of which just within the confines of the top 10 battle. Ross Cato, 21st up to 13th. Ross had himself a good day last week, something, of course, that he absolutely needs. Former runner-up in the 2023 championship is now 13th in points and is eyeing a shot at the top dozen. With Scott Eckridge missing another race and dropping down to 12th in points, Ross is likely going to take at least one spot tonight, but he is going toe-to-toe with Matt in the 93 to even maintain where he is right now. He currently holds the tiebreaker over Matt by virtue of best finish. Really tight, though. They're exactly tied, 110 points back on leader in the championship, Nate Campbell. Ross gets on the way, and another bundle heads to pit road. .39 of 80. Cannon and company leading remain out. Cody Smith now up inside the podium, 11th up to 3rd. For Next Level Racing, Cody Smith putting on a show as the premier ambassador of our primary partner. One of them, in fact. We have multiple we'd like to talk about under this caution period. Next Level Racing has been with us since 2023, providing high-quality sim racing performance products for dedicated sim racers who deserve nothing but the best. Now let's start talking about the championship here. We've done it for the past 2 years, and we're going to do it again, courtesy of Next Level Racing, championship winners in the Ignite and Octane Series will win a full sim rig with a cash value of $2,000. We'd like to thank Next Level Racing for their continued support. Visit nextlevelracing.com for more information and use promo code Integrity24 for 5% off checkout on all purchases. Additionally, while Jacob Fife has had a tricky race today, the SimMotion Chevrolet Camaro did great last night, able to make up 3 places in the championship picture and representing our brand new primary partner well indeed. SimMotion, a trusted sim racing vendor. Use promo code INTEGRITY at us-sim.motion.com for 5% off checkout for all purchases with SimMotion. Sim racing hardware needs beyond sim rigs? Check out SimMotion and, of course, Next Level Racing for sim racing rigs and miscellaneous equipment. No better place to go. We'd like to thank our Integrity Racing League partners at Next Level Racing and SimMotion for bringing tonight's action to you. You're watching live on FTN Broadcasting coverage of the Pocono Raceway in the 15th race of the 2025 Octane Series. We're going green, halfway down, halfway to go, and it's going to be Blake Cannon up top with the advantage. One lap to green. Now, quite a few yellow flags have been involving the strategy race with new possibilities. Your leaders have decided to stray from all of it. Thanks to all the yellow flags, they've hit their magic number, which means that mathematically speaking, well, it's been proven they can only take one stop and they'll make it to the end of the race. And so far, by the look of it, tire really hasn't meant all too much for them. Cannon and Tarbuck are on their original stop strategy. I really don't think we're going to expect to see them do much else besides one pit stop today. The 50% mark, not hit without its troubles, but it's crunch time from this point onward. Ethan Lane has returned to the Super 6 ahead of his championship-leading rival Nate Campbell, but it's going to be Cannon and Tarbuck dueling like it's 2024. Green flags out. Blake with a car length. Stevenson down low, already 3 wide. Welcome to the second half. Oh, Jared Davis squirrely, but he'll save it, and it's going to be 4 wide briefly with Cody Smith, Kyle Trudell, and Don Stevenson. Don is about as lucky as they get with that one, and he gets away. And already Ethan Lane gets up inside the podium. Matter of fact, he's in second place. Remarkable. So Ethan, even though it's been now more than 20 laps since he's had the race lead, has put himself back in a position where Blake Cannon at any moment can get at it again. Cannon's had his time. Now we'll see if he's got all the lessons learned to go at it and defend his top position. 40 laps to go is already counting down with 39 laps remaining. Aaron Eads side by side now with Matt Sisler and Brock Potter. Aaron in the highest spot he's been in all night long in the 88 car. And it looks like, even though most of the season maybe not going the way he'd like, 28 up to 10th, gaining 18 on the day so far. Eads is staying ahead of Sam Nieto. We'll see how much longer he can last in this battle, but currently as he goes to the inside, it looks like a real compromise on the lane. He'll have to drop back a little bit more right there. They're still 2x2 further back. Chris Schetzler right alongside Matt Jonas here. And it looks like Matt, slightly quicker, won't be able to clear until the corner. Michael Krobach toe-to-toe with Schetzler as well. Oh, they're going to split the 15 down the middle. Schetzler going to lose 2 spots in that one. And it's going to be Krobach on the high side who gets, Aaron Eads up the circuit. Sean Kalis slides. And Brian Yazik hits the wall, as does Richard Smith. It's your 7th caution of the night. And the tricky triangle gives no remorse and gives no room for error. Watch this. Aaron was running inside the top 10 just a lap and a half ago. Got loose and came up the track. That's the error there. Kalist ends up swerving out of the way, losing control in the process, and you'll see him drifting out there. Yazik, to avoid Kalist, ends up rocket shipping back up the top. And Richard Smith more the same. 4 drivers involved, 2 of which with big damage. Yazik and Smith. Kalist and Aaron Eads, by all intents and purposes, get away. Yellow flag's out again. It looks like as quickly as we get the second half going, it starts about the same as our first. Caution's out. 37 laps remaining. With a little bit of time to spare, we'd like to thank our partners and associates at FTN Broadcasting for bringing today's coverage to you. A few interruptions have been coming through just by virtue of all the cautions here, and we'll give it a little bit of time before we go back to our full-on coverage again. Well, it looks like this is the coverage of the hour. Forget about promotions, it's pit stop time. And for the first time today, Blake Cannon goes in, and he'll bring in just about the entire field with him. Cannon drops low. Ethan Lane to the bottom with them. Oh, Blake Cannon spins and does a burnout on pit road. That's going to cost him north of 20 positions. Now, have you ever seen that before? Wow. Now, I'm not sure what prompted that, but Cannon messed up royally there on the way in. You'll see Ethan Lane was far behind. It doesn't look like any contact. And take a look again. Cut loose, and the car came from under him. Wow. And that's a 1 in a million mistake. And for Blake Cannon, it's worse that he made it under racing conditions. He tried to get back down in the stall, and he just cut his losses and got back through. The only luck of the draw for this one is that it wasn't the green flag pit stop, and it means that he can put himself back together, much like, yes, Ethan Lane did it. So it isn't impossible to recover, but a horrible way to get that pit stop through. His first of the night, from the lead no less. No damage, but he's got to come down for the second time. Brock Potter going to be your race leader at the stripe. Chris Schetzler right there with him. So, looking at those tire numbers, they're ever changing. Blake Cannon making the mistake perhaps of the race in that one, for the time being anyway, right up with Ethan Lane. So, Chris Schetzler going to be on new rubber, new enough. He went down lap 39, so it's not all too old. But the winner off pit road is Brock Potter, and he'll be up at the top side of the circuit. .34 laps remaining. Chris Schetzler going to take the gamble of having slightly older rubber. Not that it is egregious by any means, it's not as if it's a gap of more than 20 laps, but for the Yoo-Hoo number 24, Schetzler right now has the disadvantage. Everyone behind him, from second down to 30th, went down to pit road during lap 45. Chris is one of one, and by all accounts, he hasn't been the fastest driver on the racetrack, so being without the advantage of the newest rubber, it's really going to hurt his case here. We'll see what he can do about it, but currently anyway, I don't know if this is the right move to make. The hope of all hopes is that it doesn't bring any more trouble to him. Schetzler here, hoping to avoid it. Chris Schetzler, for the first time tonight, gets the ball rolling, and it looks like he'll get off much better than Brock Potter. Potter stuttering on his way out, and Sam Nieto locks and loads for P2. 3 wide into 1 again. Oh, Brad Patton comes up the track. Tom Wetmore with contact as well. They're bobbling all over the place. Somehow, they all stay straight. Ross Cato ducking to the inside. While they're always contentious on the early starts, it hasn't been those big jumblings that have caused the majority of the cautions, and instead, it's been minor comeuppances under green. Just about everyone's got the same rubber, so as we look up ahead, Chris Schetzler is still your leader, and it looks like he's proven that just about anyone can make those clean air moments one for a victory. Sam Nieto, though, looks quicker now, and even though Chris holding well for that first lap, now has a chance to go at it again. Watch what happens for Sam Nieto as we take a look inside the cockpit. Sam Nieto, for the first time tonight, free from all of his other championship contenders. I'll tell you this much, Sam Nieto is a driver who's had championship potential from the jump. 2023, he was one of the best drivers in the Octane Series. 2024, took a step back. This year, he's back to that old way. 39 points back on championship leader Nate Campbell, and now ahead of Lane and Campbell alike. A victory is still something that Sam is chasing, and it would be his 4th career victory in Octane Series competition and his 5th overall in the modern Integrity Racing League. Already with a victory this year in the Ignite Series, the Tuesday night tour, which he's been a regular of now for multiple years, it has still eluded him. He's been close, undeniably, but it just hasn't gone his way. .31 laps to go this time around. Now, I'll tell you this much, also, maybe a little bit more doubtful on Chris Schetzler than we should have been. It looks like so far he's not only been able to hold a pretty wheel up in front, but also he's been able to keep the pace with the leaders who are behind him. He's on older tires, so it's effectively inevitable that he's going to lose the lead here, but it hasn't been an issue so far with the 24 at command. Chris, with 1 podium last year, looking to match and maybe best that category this season. Got both of the Potters inside the top 5, Brock and Nolan. Coming from 13th for Brock and 17th for Nolan, respectively. It's a total gain of 9 places for the 14 car and a total of 12 for Nolan Potter. That's 21 spots gained across both drivers. And again, these drivers are not related to one another, and we have 3 Potters that have raced this week. Ryan raced last night. Here comes Nicholas Ward, 3 wide on the Potters. Can you believe it? and somehow not a one of them gets in the wall. Nolan brushes it, but somehow keeps it under at full speed. Oh, this is tricky. Ethan Lane sending Nolan Potter right up the track. Tom Wetmore almost doing more of the same for the race lead. Nicholas Ward looks low. They're 3 wide for second place. Nieto just gets ahead. Sam for first. It's anyone's second place. Chris Schetzler now seeing Ryan Bean and also Sam Nieto dropping low. He blocks low, he'll block high, trying to keep that momentum equally distributed. It looks like now Schetzler's slightly quicker than Bean, but he doesn't have the line to maintain. Ryan Bean getting to the underside has the edge. Chris is only just inside the podium. Nicholas Ward is fighting desperately to take it away. Oh, loose. Ward again. That's going to be Ethan Lane getting a chance to attack, but Nick Tarbuck gets the better of both of them. That'll be a 2-for-1. Nick Tarbuck, fourth. He gets up there from sixth. Tom Wetmore tries to get to the inside now on Nicholas Ward. Can't do it. Brock Potter tries as well. Now the Potters are looking for redemption. Nicholas Ward, his back bumper filled with the 14. Ward sent into the corner well. Ethan Lane now fifth. And he's looking to rocket ship back up to the 4 of Tarbuck. Oh, look at that. As squirrely as they get. Another driver loose. Nick low, Schetzler high and being pushed. Chris is right in the middle of the championship leading battle and the race winning battle as well. And a major shout out to the 24 of Chris Schetzler, who's doing a remarkable job not only with the pressure but with the equipment disparity. And even though he might be falling out of the top 5 now, it looks like he's been able to hold himself very well among the best. And I gotta wonder, what would he look like up front today with the exact same tire? Maybe we're looking at a guy who really could have benefited qualifying up front. Again, he started 25th today, and of the top 10, he's had to make it up the second biggest distance. Only Brad Patton, 31st to 10th, has gone further. .27 laps to go. Sam Nieto's got to watch out because his back bumper is going to be filled pretty soon with Ryan Bean. Oh, and as soon as you think Bean's going to go for it, Ethan Lane surges for second. And now to reclaim the race lead, Lane down low. Ethan to the inside, gets it on the 26. So Ethan's now got the perfect opportunity to do it again for Sam Nieto. It's only one position, but Sam has been locked down on defense. Now, so far, clean air has been king. That's how Chris Schetzler maintained in 25th, of course, getting up to the race lead, took tires, and a little bit earlier than everyone else, had 5 laps up in front. Otherwise, on even tire, we have still not seen a pass for the lead. Ethan Lane is trying to be the first, and the first since his own blunder gave away the top position. Toe-to-toe now, Ethan Lane with the surge down the front. It's all his. The 6 car takes the lead again, but he's not clear until he drops low. That he does. Nieto's given the bottom. He can't use it. To the point, with 25 laps remaining, Ethan Lane leads again. Chris Schetzler side by side with Nick Tarbuck, and Chris has not died down yet. Even if he's been falling, even if he's got the oldest tire of almost anyone in the field, it looks like all of a sudden he's a rejuvenated man in that 24. 4th place, and still holding. Again, we predicted based on the tire model update, maybe we'd see a more conservative approach with guys going at it on rubber. tonight's showing a little bit of the opposite. Schetzler being so confident, even with older tire than anyone else, may be indicative of the fact that the rubber isn't playing as much as a role as we saw when we went racing here with the Integrity Ignite Series. Now, Schetzler, yes, he's falling behind, but that also could come down to the fact he's not saving as much. But performance-wise, he's been pretty similar. And he's actually coming up on Ryan Bean right now while Nick Tarbuck looks low. Nicholas Ward also looking for a chance. Ward's got a great view of this fight. And Chris Schetzler, of course, does, as he'll see Tarbuck try to go for the clear pass. Nick still can't clear him. And as soon as they go side by side, watch Trudell and Ward. Tarbuck ends up behind Schetzler. Wow, look at that. The 24 car surges through again. Nicholas Ward on the underside of Trudell and Wetmore. And now he'll drop to the bottom. Nick on Nick as Kyle Trudell tries to get a piece. With 23 laps to go, it's as contentious as it gets behind Ethan Lane, but it's smooth sailing for the race lead. Coming to 22 laps to go this time by, we'd like to thank our friends at Whiplash SimCams for tonight's remarkable broadcast cameras. No better place to go for your iRacing camera needs at any level. If you're a beginning broadcaster or an expert in the game, you won't lose a thing. Not even your money. Free sample packs available on their Discord server and social media platforms, so check them out today. Camera packs starting at $5 a piece for each car and each track. Visit Whiplash SimCams on their social media platforms. Thank you to Pit Stop TV for welcoming us to the Pit Stop TV and Whiplash SimCam family. With 22 laps to go, let's crank it up from Long Pond, Pennsylvania, and get loud from the Pocono Raceway. 18 laps remain. Ethan Lane advantageous, and look at the gap he's put up. Everyone else far and away behind. Chris Schetzler's been putting in his money's worth on his old tire run. He's in fourth and is keeping Kyle Trudell at bay, but Tom Wetmore wants a piece. He'll go for a 2-for-1 pass. Wetmore for fourth. Man, Chris Schetzler. Oh, contact. Blake Cannon going to go around the 44 into the 14, and we've got big trouble. Nicholas Ward spinning, as does Matt Sisler and Brad Patton. It's another track stopper, and the caution's out. Take a look at this. Three wide. And it was contentious to begin with, but it looked like these guys were in a good flow. That doesn't turn out to be the case, or at least now it isn't, as drivers go side by side, and it becomes one too many. Out of three, problematic circumstances. Now, it's been out of one and out of three where most incidents have been. Not a lot through the tunnel turn, just carrying momentum. When you reset yourself for the next lap, chaos is due to ensue. Nicholas Ward was right there, and it began just behind. Ward into Potter, and then Cannon slides, and when Blake went around, spins into Brock Potter, collects Brad Patton, also getting a piece there of the 20 of Zach Schrittenthal. Then Matt Sisler, Jared Davis, Ross Cato catches a piece, and Don Stevenson slides as Michael Krobach narrowly escapes and goes in a pit road. He won't be penalized for that by virtue of why he did it. But otherwise, a nasty accident overall with 16 to go. "16 laps remain, crank it up." For all intents and purposes, is also concluded, and the noise comes to a temporary halt. Ethan Lane is back in action with 16 laps to go. With time to spare once again, we'd like to thank our friends at iRacing Motorsport Simulations. Celebrating now more than 17 years as the world's leading online simulator platform. iRacing.com, unlike any other, with the partnerships they've connected not only with NASCAR, but additionally Formula One, Indycar, the World of Outlaws, World Endurance Championship, IMSA, and historical racing across generations. There is no better place to go to start your sim racing career, and there's no better time than right now. Visit iRacing.com to learn more about how you can begin your path to the sim racing world, whether it is in a professional sense or in any racing league. We broadcast many a series on our channel here at FTN, and there's many opportunities to get involved, race your friends, and find some in the sim racing world. Thank you again to iRacing.com for helping out and bringing tonight's coverage to you. We'll restart with 13 laps to go, and we will be right back after this.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
This message is brought to you by the rebrand of Throttle Graphics and Designs. This publication may not be reposted without the authorized written consent of Throttle Graphics and Designs. NASCAR Camping World Ford F-150, NASCAR Xfinity Ford Mustang, NASCAR Cup Series Next-Gen Ford Mustang, Arca Menards. This has been the publication of the redesign and rebranding of Throttle Graphics and Designs. This message may not be reposted, republicated, or rebroadcasted without the authorized written consent of Throttle Graphics and Designs. Thank you, and thanks for your time.
14 laps remaining. It's going to be a baker's dozen when we go green. That was your 8th caution of the night. Brian Yazzik going to retire after getting involved in that one. Currently 30 drivers on the lead lap and 32 still racing, going back to Eli Cars 2 laps down. Double file, 16 rows deep. With Lane back at the helm, it's going to be pretty hard to knock him down lest he makes his own mistake. Oftentimes, his own worst enemy, well, it's himself. Of course, Ethan Lane is that quick where sometimes that mistake in pursuit of something greater gets to him. It was like that last year. We considered him a checkers or wreckers style of driver just because oftentimes he would win, oftentimes he would be nowhere close. He was able to win just about 50% of the season last year, but in that early stretch, the first half of the season, almost all of his top 10s were victories, which is, of course, with his winning average, good to have, but it also means he had a lot of races with wasted potential when it comes to gaining points. So the big ambition for him anyways, even if today isn't a win, just to collect some good points and continue making it up. He's had the upper hand over Nate Campbell for the majority of the night, and he still does to this point. Green flags out, 13 laps to go. They're double file, but they're a lot more so behind. Blake Cannon diving to the bottom quick. He's looking for any spot he can take. Wide for Blake Cannon. Take a look at this. The 36 of Jacob Fife also looking to make some fast moves as from 20th, Cannon is working his way up. Nate Campbell in the 45 car now facing the pressure. Starting this run in 14th while his title rival is up in front and leading. Not a good place to be for Nate here, and it looks like unless he can really put it all back together, or unless there's a mistake made up in front, that Ethan Lane will take the championship lead by the end of this race. 12 laps to go. Nick Tarbuck behind watches and waits in the wings, while Sam Nieto is third. Fourth place is Kyle Trudell. Then you'll have 5th and Cody Smith. Smith has been passing by once or twice. He's come into the mix, and at times he's made his mistake, of course, of falling back. And it looks like right now the 18 car, Cody Smith, is just going at it as well as he'd like. John Kalist, 6th as it stands, 27th to 6th. He's made up nearly 20, or rather, more than 20 positions right now. He is about as high as he's been all night long. Kalist, he was helping out Brian Yazzik in that first incident when he got knocked upside down. It looks like maybe some good karma to finish the night off, as he's in the highest spot he's been in all season. Got Aaron Eads in the 88 now, just behind him, who's also made up 21 positions, 28th up to 7th. Ryan Bean, 10th to 8th, and if you take a watch right now, he's coming up on both the hard chargers. Ryan Bean watching to the inside. Watch what happens now for Ross Cato as he'll dive low. Ross looking for another top 10. For Cato, if he wants to make it to the top 10 in points, consistent runs at this level are going to be necessary. He did it in 2023. It's not out of the realm of possibility, but he's 3 wide again. Tom Wetmore with them, as is the 93 of Matt Sisler. And now it's as tight as it gets. Side by side, Matt up high, and you'll see here Blake Cannon to the bottom. Blake gets the edge. Tom Wetmore still going to have himself slightly further up. 10 laps to go. While Ethan Lane has gotten all but away entirely, it looks like now Chris Scheffler going to be able to move further up front. Aaron Eads in the 88, more of the same. Eads is still chasing Sean Kalist, and now you got a multitude of drivers who have come from outside the top 25. They're making great time. Pretty infrequent that's the case, but it looks like again, tonight that's how it goes down. To the inside, Chris Scheffler looking to keep a top 10 run going. Oh, a big slide for the 24. Scheffler tries, fails, drops multiple spots at once. That is not at all the way you want to go about it, and it looks like Chris, in desperation to maintain or even gain position, shall we say, well, he's going to end up knocking himself out the top 10, back to 12th. Blake Cannon keeps moving. Nine laps to go. Scheffler ends up diving to the inside. Nobody else involved will stay green, but the 24 falls out. Now take a look at this. Scheffler with Jacob Fife there, and it's with Fife where the issue comes to rise. Caution is out now with 8 laps to go, and as we're watching the replay, you're going to see why it came out. Yellow flag flies, and it looks like that's going to be a response to the incident with Scheffler officially. You just saw the caution and why it happened. Yellow flag is out for now the 9th time tonight. Ethan Lane in the number 6 leading, and it's going to be less than 5 laps from here, the difference between victory and defeat. Nick Tarbuck up top, Sam Nieto down low. That's the tentative lineup for this final restart. With 7 remaining now on the clock, we're waiting to see whether or not anyone comes down to pit road. Odds are, our final pit cycle's already come to pass. Set to go double file. And at the very most, a 5-lap sprint. Nick Tarbuck looks higher again, and we're set to go at it real soon. Before we go back at it for what could be our final restart of the day, we'll bring our final promotional messages from our friends live at FTN. Thank you for tuning in to Pocono Raceway's action in the Integrity OCTANE Series. We'll return after our final advertisements of the night here.
Boundless makes its presence felt. It will not be ignored. We're helping turn ideas into reality with a wealth of building products that take every architectural style to the next level. This is what it's like to imagine, build, and transform anything we want into exactly what we seek. This is what it means to be boundless.
This message is brought to you by the rebrand of Throttle Graphics and Designs. This publication may not be reposted without the authorized written consent of Throttle Graphics and Designs. NASCAR Camping World Ford F-150. NASCAR Xfinity Ford Mustang. NASCAR Cup Series Next-Gen Ford Mustang. Arca Menards. This has been the publication of the redesign and rebranding of Throttle Graphics and Designs. This message may not be reposted, republicated, or rebroadcasted without the authorized written consent of Throttle Graphics and Designs. Thank you, and thanks for your time.
Four laps remain for restart number 9. Any other caution from this point forward will bring us to overtime conditions from the Pocono Raceway. Ethan Lane led the opening 20 laps and most recently got back to the top spot. And he's looking to finish the job in the final moments of our action from Pennsylvania. Cody Smith and Sam Nieto line up behind him. Nick Tarbuck has Kyle Trudell and Sean Kalis on his backside. Sean is looking for his career best finish, as is Aaron Eads and Matt Sisler, all of which in the top 10. Podium, number 4. Win potentially number 7. That's going to be Ethan Lane's end goal, another pole to victory conversion. He's gone 100% on those so far in the Ignite series. He's gotten more wins than he has poles so far on Tuesday nights. The field returns to green. 4 laps to go. Sam Nieto puts the jump on Ethan Lane, and he'll get out a little bit better than your race leader. Inside lines, got what it needs. Not so much for Tarbuck and those behind. 4 to go. We're back on our way. Wetmore, 3 wide. Tarbuck sliding. Tom for second place. Just can't get there. It's going to be Cody Smith who gets ahead. Contact Aaron Eads. They're sliding down the circuit. Save for Eads. They're still going straight. We will stay green. The call on the field not yet made. Through the tunnel turn, we're still going through. Lane is going to make it out with 3 laps to go. Take a look now for Nick Tarbuck as he gets alongside Matt Sisler. Ross Cato's now going to have himself in the top 10 as well, at least in that conversation. 11th place last time by. Take a look aboard for Cato now as he comes up on Nick Tarbuck. Blake Cannon now at the back end of the top 10 conversation as well. It looks like he's just about where he started the restart, but still multiple positions behind where he qualified. 2nd to 8th on the day for the 44 team, and while a solid race, it's not going to help out in catching up to who will eventually be the championship leader at the end of night. 2 laps to go now for Ethan Lane to seal the deal, and he's got a half second over Cody Smith. Smith in second, Sam Nieto in third, Tom Wetmore P4. You look further behind, Nick Tarbuck and Ross Cato all together as well. Single file, however. We're no longer seeing that double wide contention, and of course, that contest, shall we say, that we saw over the past 20 laps. It's come to pass, and now everyone's just about settled in fully. The white flag comes through this time by, and it looks like this race will be official. One lap to go. For Lane, this is it. Final lap, no! At the line, they'll call a caution. Bobby Keith involved, and with less than 100 feet, it looks like the caution is thrown. Remarkably close, the white flag was waving in the air, and we will go to overtime. Watch this. Bobby Keith, who's on the bottom, prior to the time of incident, came up to Eli Carr's contact once, twice, and he slides up the circuit. Now watch where the lane is, and watch from inside the cockpit. The white flag is waving, and just before Ethan gets there, the yellow flag comes out. So close to sealing the deal, and it's just not enough. So Lane drops low, Smith goes high, Nieto, Wetmore, Trudell, and Blake Cannon are all back on him. For Blake Cannon here, the number 44 team back up to 6th. It looks like some minor gains just before that final stint under regulation came to pass. So with overtime in mind, the white flag would mean the race is official. Tentatively speaking, however, that is not to be expected without maybe a little bit more controversy or conflict on the racetrack tonight. If we have another caution, which means any yellow flag that flies before the white flag is out, then we're going to have it restack, re-rack. We have 3 overtime opportunities available. This is the first of which. So, if we have another caution, we could go for another restart, and that means that we could go for up to 3 overtime attempts, which means we could go closer to lap 90 than we are right now at lap 81. Again, regulation end was supposed to be lap number 80, but an overtime means we can go far further than that point. We'll restart at lap number 83. Checkered flag is expected now to come out at lap 84 if this is the final caution of the night. For our 10th of the day and our first overtime attempt, Ethan Lane has it low. It's Cody Smith up top. So far, Ethan Lane has only lost to himself on a restart, and I'd be highly doubtful that he's going to let that go through again. Tom Wetmore involved in a fierce fight right before that restart came to a close. We're seeing 3 wide in the podium places, and then they all just settled out. It's that final chance to do it again. Now, whether or not the drivers were effectively accepting where they would be positionally speaking, or perhaps if they were hoping for an opportunity like this, well, we know now that they've got that last chance. Ethan Lane to the bottom, Cody Smith up high. For these two drivers, this is it. Cody Smith still looking for his first Integrity Racing League win of the year. He did a remarkable job in Phoenix to start against Ethan Lane and have him beat for 20 laps, but Ethan ended up taking over and led 110. How sweet it would be for Cody Smith to finally get the opportunity and win on his own terms in Pocono. Smith goes up against Ethan Lane, who's searching for win number 7. The drivers behind, for Wetmore, it would be his 3rd. For Nieto, it would be his 1st of the season. Same goes for Cody Smith right up top. Double file with 30 drivers still contending on the lead lap. Here we go again. 2 laps to go for first overtime attempt. It's all Ethan Lane careening into 1. Wetmore blocking his teammate there. They're side by side in the opening corner through Trenton. Kyle Trudell, looking for his 2nd consecutive podium, wants more than anything else to make his way now round. They got contact behind. It's Michael Krobach. Call on the field is we stay green. No longer. Double overtime. Michael Krobach goes around spinning. It's your 11th caution of the night. Krobach 3 wide there. Nicholas Ward dropping back. Schetzler wiggles. They're 3 wide. Jared Davis makes contact. That'll shoot Krobach up and into the wall. As does Richard Smith. We're heading to double overtime now as the field gets settled in again. So now, looks like we're going to be restarting after lap 85. And we might end closer to lap number 88. Sam Nieto will take 2nd after that one, as the field gets itself put together. This is our second 2-lap shootout. The field, again, having one more opportunity in case it doesn't work out this time by. Green flag means, of course, we're back at racing. Yellow coming out at all will extend this race. The white flag means it's done and done from here. Side by side, 2 laps to green. Lane already right where he's going to be on that restart. Kyle Trudell in the 84, 15th to 6th. The biggest mover in the top 10, however, is 27th up to 9th. That, of course, is Sean Kalist. Kalist has been remarkable so far today. 19 places gained, and particularly in these last 15 laps where he's been as high as 6th. It looks like he might be the underdog of the day after all. Chris Schetzler getting his time in the sun. But otherwise, been Kalist now really holding it down to finish it off. Additionally, Matt Sisler up now 11 places, 19th to 8th. Another good run for the 93 crew, and it looks like one he can capitalize on. Nick Tarbuck has been jousting for the top 5 placements, but it looks like now he's again just outside of it. 7th as it stands. Blake Cannon, 2nd down to 5th. Let's see what he can do now. He was 8th prior to our first overtime attempt. He's made up 3 places since then. One to green this time by. We're going to restart at lap 87. The race will conclude at lap 88, based on our current estimates. Any additional yellow flag will send us past lap 90 today. And it looks like it'll be about lap 93, the concluding lap at that point. Had a few troubles so far getting through these first laps quickly. The iRacing official pace car settling in for what could be its final trip around the Pocono Raceway. I'll tell you this much, the pace car laps aren't counted here, but it's definitely done upwards of 15 and maybe even 20 laps so far tonight with us. We'll have to look back. We've had 11 cautions now, and assuming that each caution is 3 laps at the minimum, yeah, the iRacing pace car has been out with us for a lot of this race. Almost out there for the first 15 laps consecutively. And it looks like it's just been adding on to that tally ever since. So here's to finishing it off with Carvana, Toyota Camry on the bottom, and Sam Nieto's Ford Mustang on the high side. 2 laps to go. It's our second of 2 green-white checkered attempts, and the bigger picture has now become a short sprint. 29 drivers still on the lead lap, and only 2 retirees. Here we go again. Green flags out. 2 laps to go. Ethan Lane bolting back into position, and we're back on our way for lap number 87. 2 by 2 further behind, but Ethan covers ground. Side by side now for second place. Cody Smith and Sam Nieto going at each other. The podium placement's far from decided here, but it looks like everything else remains locked. Ethan Lane, with 1 lap to go this time by, has the advantage over just about everyone else. And it's going to be a firm margin at that. 1 to go. Sean Kalis side by side with Ryan Bean for the final spots in the top 10. Ethan is now far out in front. Last lap, final corners, Sam Nieto nowhere to be seen. The back end for Lane, it's slowly but surely becoming emptier. Nick Tarbuck to the inside on Ross Cato. Cato getting some speed to get into the single digits, but they're lining up single file, and there's nowhere else to go. Ethan Lane at the halfway mark of the season is looking to go 50% on his win-loss rate over the first half of the campaign. Ethan, the number 6 car, with his 4th pole position, closes out the job after 88 laps and goes for win number 7 on his 2025 tour. Career win number 22 in the Octane Series. The only mistake and only time he lost the lead was as a his own doing, and he came from outside the top 20 to win again. Ethan takes the race lead, of course, in the final 20 laps under regulation racing in the 60s, and ends up holding for 2 overtimes to collect that 7th victory. And much like Matthew Thunhorse did yesterday, as Lane wrecks after the race and gets cleared out, Ethan Lane takes the championship lead. And what a midway point of the season. 2 championship turnovers in 2 consecutive nights, but at 2 completely different races. 11 cautions today compared to yesterday's 1, and 2 overtime finishes compared to yesterday's none. To burn it down is Ethan Lane. Ethan leads the Integrity, Ignite, and Octane Series in victories. And of course, he's now the only driver on the year with more than 10 wins across both series. 7 now in the Octane Series, and 4 victories in the Ignite Series. 11 across the entire catalog. One of a kind, and clearly a cut above. Ethan Lane collects victory with 50 laps led out of our 88 tonight, and Blake Cannon able to get back to where he started and making great moves in the final restarts, takes second place after leading 28. You'll then and there have Cody Smith in third, Sam Nieto fourth, and Tom Wetmore rounding out the top 5 with Kyle Trudell, Ross Cato, Nick Tarbuck, Nolan Potter, and Matt Sisler being the final men inside of the top 10. 11th place is the number 90 Sean Kalist. Ryan Bean goes 12th, with Zach Schrintenall going 14th, and Matt Jonas in the 15 car going P15. Nicholas Ward finishes in 16th, with Woody Mahan 17th, Brock Potter 18th, and Nate Campbell 19th. P20 on the day, Galen Gidman with Jared Davis, Chris Schetzler, John DeBarro, Michael Krobach, Brad Patton in 25th. 26th on back, Josh Gallagher, and 28th, Aaron Eads. 29th, Eli Carr's 30th. Final drivers on the day, Jacob Fife, Randy Fiash, Brian Yazik, and John Steele retiring before all was said and done. Such is the night for Ethan Lane. Another win. Today, maybe a little bit more chaotic than any of the others in his recent streak of success. While he was able to take the pole position and lead the opening laps, it took a long while to recover and finish the job the way it started. Pole to victory for his 7th win of the campaign. Ethan Lane with us again after a thrilling victory in the Pocono Raceway, where Ethan, you had to make it up after your own mistake to solidify it.
Yeah, no, that was tough. New package and everything today kind of threw everyone for a loop. Fighting Dirty Air was fun. Trying to figure out where to run compared to everyone in front of you to stay out of Dirty Air was interesting. But yeah, no, we'll take it. Hopefully everyone can kind of clean up some of the mistakes we had tonight to where we can get better with this new package. I think a lot of it tonight was just learning and finding where and what we can and can't do. But yeah, we'll definitely take the W. It was fun coming through the field for sure.
Now, looking back at that beginning, and of course we're going to have to mention it on the story of this race, had the pole position, and we had a few restarts to get the race going. You only lost the race lead to begin with just based on brushing up against that turn one wall, and it was a little bit more than a brush, shall we say, slamming it out of the exit and falling to the back end of the top 10. But of course, a pit stop right after that changed the game for you, so of course you had to change your approach. And how important was it taking that pit stop as soon as you could?
Very. It was only 12.4 seconds of damage. I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but with how error sensitive these things are now, I knew we just had to get it fixed. So yeah, no, we somewhere in that middle of the race, we made it work out to where we had fresher tires and we were able to work traffic with it really well, which was I think our strong suit tonight. Um, and then once we got the lead, we never gave it away.
No doubt about it. As soon as you got back in front, it looked like really no trouble. Now, we were talking about this since iRacing had a big update tonight, which changed where we'd be racing. We're looking at, and not quite sure if it's a confirmed, we saw a lot of sources mentioning it, the iRacing new tire model coming over to the next gens tonight, and it looked like tires didn't play as much of a role as we expected here. The guys on old rubber staying in front for a long while for the first half of the race. I'm not sure if that was by virtue of all the restarts or cautions we had, but did the tires play all a different role compared to usual?
In a way, they kind of did, especially when I was coming through the field. But no, like during that one long run we had where I took the lead and pulled away, we were only 3 tenths off the fastest lap that I had ran during that run. So tires, I guess, aren't going to be as big of a deal now, but they still help. But yeah, with this new update and everything, track position is going to be so much more important.
Now, with this seventh victory, it's also the championship lead changing hands. You've got yourself the top spot, and for the first time this season, you find yourself solely ahead of the head of the field, and it looks like it's a little bit of a less tight battle. Just 2 weeks ago, we had 6 drivers within 25 points, but you're putting down race after race that makes it even harder to keep up. Sonoma Raceway is up next, so it's going to be a road course. Very few drivers rise to the top there consistently. What's your expectation as we go twisting and turning all over again?
Really could not tell you. With this new tire too. It's the same one we have on the GTP cars, so I think the first 4 to 5 laps will be critical, and then it's going to be like we had a couple years ago too, where it just did not fall off, and you did not want to take tires. But we'll see come next week. Hopefully, we can do what we did at the Watkins Glen, uh, qualify on pole, and just pull away. But we'll have to wait and find out.
Now, with of course all that momentum in his sails, Ethan Lane goes for back-to-back Octane Series wins, and actually, from the Memorial Day break, it's been an undefeated run. Now, getting back into business again, we've of course only got a week's time until we go racing once more. Any final thoughts you'd like to leave us with here, Ethan? Comments, shout-outs?
Um, just thank you for always putting these broadcasting for everyone Integrity putting these races on, especially with the limited amount of seat time we had with this new package. I think everyone did the best they could. Um, Glad Blake's back. He had a nice recovery tonight, so we'll look forward to racing him for the rest of the season, hopefully.
Ethan Lane putting it together in a double overtime run despite all the tight action and a little bit of a bobble back and forth early. No doubt at the end, Ethan for win number 7 on the season here in the Octane Series. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Ethan Lane on the move led the most laps of the day with 50, but if there was anyone who could hold a candle tonight, it was the man who got a lot of time up in front as soon as Ethan Lane fell further back. With 28 laps led on the day, Blake Cannon in the 44 returns and was just about as strong as ever, leading, getting that seat time in front, and in the final 15 laps, moving from 8th up to 2nd and making real good use of those overtime finishes to go runner-up. Exactly where you qualified, Blake.
Yeah, I had a good night. Finished probably where I should have finished second. I don't know if if he doesn't hit the wall early in the race, I don't know if I get around him. But spinning on pit road and looking like a clown really didn't help my cause either. So At one point of the race, I was hoping to get a top 15 rebound, and then it was a top 10 rebound, and then just everything fell in my way to get a top three. So what a race!
Now, of course, the picture was up and down with how tire strategy worked today. Next gen model changing up, and you were a prime example of a driver who stayed out for the first half of the race, and that's what got you the lead over Ethan Lane after he made that early mistake. But it looked like for the first 40 laps, there was really no deficit in pace. Almost everyone behind you went down to pit road before you, but still couldn't get around. Could you walk us through how it was making that long run work without falling behind?
Yeah, the update today, dirty air is so big. So track position means more now than ever. Like putting your car in front of somebody else's car actually affects them negatively. So I think you're going to see a lot of that moving forward. Old tires, they don't wear out, so you can't call them old. I mean, like that first stint, I mean, it was lap 40 and I was running my fastest lap if I ever had to get up on the wheel. So the tires just don't wear out. So that's that means track position is going to mean everything, and it's going to be three times as hard to pass. So for Ethan to be able to come through the pack, for Brad Patton, for me, for a lot of guys to be able to pass the way they did, it's a testament to this everybody in this league. It's so hard to pass, and there's no side draft, so it's all dirty air and putting your car in the right place. So I think you're gonna see a lot more of two tire calls or people staying out. I think trap position is gonna mean a lot moving forward.
So perhaps it's a general difference that not only impacts what we saw today, but what's next to come. It was interesting because we went to Pocono, of course, with the Ignite series, and a really different style of racing played out. It's different cars, some of the same drivers, though. Nevertheless, your claim to a podium finish today really came down to those final overtime restart runs. You were in the top 10 beforehand, but made those swift moves to get from the bottom half of the top 10 right up to the podium and maybe even an outside shot at the win. We're replaying back the first restart here, and we could see you were several rows back, and so quickly you got up to what would have been the front row if there was anything more.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the further forward you get, the better chance you have at making those kind of passes. But you also got to be lined up in the right line. Like there's a time I passed Trudell going sixth to fifth, right in the nick of time. So that puts you on the inside line. And I didn't get the greatest restarts there at the end, but I think it might have played in my favor just being more patient than I normally would be. So a lot of them guys would go off into one and two and they drive hard, and then by the time they exited the corner, they were tight. And if you would just wait a second in the center, you could really gain a lot of time. So I don't know. It's a lot of fun. Restarts are big. Track position's big. Um, I feel like you can run these cars a lot harder than you used to be able to. So that's nice. We had a lot of hard racing. I think a lot of guys were still trying to figure it out. So I know we had some cautions tonight, but I'm not going to put it on anybody. I mean, everybody in this league knows what they're doing. So we'll get it figured out. Sonoma will be interesting next week, but I really hope we come back to Pocono, which I doubt we will, but it would be interesting.
Taking our early trip to Pocono, of course, flight canceled to Japan tonight, and we decided to stay stateside, and that's where we're going to be next week, where we go down to Sonoma, California. You found yourself with a breakout race last year in the Ignite series at that track, so we're heading back to California, which could really help you out here as you return to action. Championship race, playoffs anyhow. You're in a good position for the playoffs, maybe still an outside shot to gain more positions in the regular season title battle. What's the game plan as we head back to Sonoma?
Honestly, man, I've had a lot of ups and downs this year. So I've pissed a lot of people off and made a lot of mistakes, and even tonight I'm still really sloppy. So I'm not even worried about points. I feel like I'm good enough on points that I'm locked in, so I'm not really worried about that. Obviously, getting a win would be amazing. I've tried, and I really want one on Tuesday to match what I have on Monday. But I just got to clean it up. I mean, my team's giving me everything I need to win, and I'm putting myself in good positions. I've got to clean it up, and I've got to capitalize. So that's the biggest thing when you go against Ethan and Sam and even Tom and Tarabuck, all these guys. I mean, you can't make a mistake because if you do, they're going to pounce. So that's the main goal for me moving forward is just have a good, solid race at Sonoma, and then just see where we stack up at the end.
Blake Cannon, second place on the day, just a second behind on Ethan Lane, and surging quick up to the podium. Any final comments you'd like to leave us with before we head to California?
Just want to say thanks to you, David, and everybody on the broadcast and everybody in this league. I mean, it's amazing to race here, and I appreciate everybody racing me with respect. Shout out to Tom. I know he had a really good run going, and I'm glad he was able to hold on for fifth. But just shout out to Roadhouse, and man, I'm ready to keep racing.
Blake Cannon right back in the mix and smack in the middle of the podium after an exciting night with quite a few cautions at that in Pocono. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, David.
Cannon on the move, and Cody Smith once again. As of last 2 weeks, if Ethan Lane's up there about half the time, you'll also get Cody Smith too. While Cody was able to lead some early laps in Phoenix Raceway, wasn't quite able to do the same today. He still put out a valiant effort and made it a strong performance at the very end. From beginning to end, Cody, you had your time hovering amongst the top 5, but really made the best of it in the final moments to reclaim a third place finish by 10 1/1000ths of a second.
Yeah, that was I wish that was for the win, obviously, but that was a pretty good run to the finish there. I found out pretty early with this new build that I don't know, tires were not as important. So I just decided once I had enough fuel, I was not going to pit anymore, regain my track position, and it was just kind of hold on from there. Probably had nothing for Ethan. I started one restart on the top on the front row. Didn't time that restart very well. Lost second even. Other than that, I was just trying to make as many moves as you can. It was hard to pass out there, but that was a pretty fun race. Hope you enjoyed watching.
And no doubt about it, it was an exciting race, but also rather contentious, and we saw many a caution in between. Today, strategy seeming to change, and it could be a permanent change. Next gen, the tire model different before and after today. And to add to that, we just had so many cautions in the mix compared to usual. Strategy was thrown for a loop. Now, it seemed like you were running up there as far up in front for as long as you possibly could, rather than bailing early. We saw many drivers going in as early as the first caution here. Things were shifted up and down. Not often do we see 5 or 6 strategy calls going at once. Was there anything or anyone that led you to make the calls you were going for?
Yeah, I mean, I knew during practice that there wasn't much fall off, so tires weren't that important. It was all about track position, man. The dirty air in this new build is unreal. It's I think they pretty much nailed that because you just can't go anywhere. So you got to really, really work and build your runs. It's just so hard to make a pass. And then when they line up on the outside of it, they just go by you on the straightaway here. At Pocono, the straightaways are so long as well. So I knew track position was going to be king. And once I figured out that fresh tires weren't even really giving you an advantage, I just figured I'm just going to stay out until until I'm out of fuel at this point.
And stretching the game until the very last moments. I mean, when you think about that, we had a few more laps going to lap 88 compared to our regulation end of lap 80. Was fuel at all a concern for those final runs, or were you set up well to even go that distance?
What I can say is I am glad we only have 3 green, white checkers in integrity. But I was pretty close there at the end. I was able to save pretty good during the caution laps, but I did not want it to keep going, getting more and more green, white checkers, because I was close enough to be a little bit worried about it. But yeah, I don't know. Cautions early, I think a lot. We're trying to figure out the new physics and things like that. A lot of learning going on. And then at the end, it's just everyone on top of each other trying to get every spot they can. So hopefully we can put on a little better show of more green flag racing, because that was a lot of fun when we did go green.
We're expecting to see a lot of green flag racing next week from Sonoma, California. That's almost always without question, but it's a completely different style of racing. Cody, before we head out there, once again, any final comments about that race you'd like to leave us with, or if there's any other shout-outs, the floor is yours.
Yeah, absolutely. Sonoma should be fun, for sure. We'll see what how these new tires race there. Obviously have to think next level, carrying them on the car. I'm sitting in a next level rig. This thing is it's next level. Excuse the pun, but no, got to thank everybody for all the admins, and then you as well, David. It's always cool going back and watching these races. So thank you for everything you do.
Cody Smith with the Next Level Racing Chevrolet fights hard. Phoenix Raceway, a few weeks ago, just a brief callback. You were right up there with Ethan Lane to begin it, and it looks like you finally got back up there to end it. Third place from the Pocono Raceway. Thank you for your time, Cody.
Thank you, Dave.
It looks like a strong past 2 weeks for the 18 team as he gets back up to the top 3. Cody Smith, 11th to 3rd. Blake Cannon and Ethan Lane qualify and finish in the same place for each driver, respectively. 2nd to 2nd for Blake. 1st to 1st for Ethan. And so goes another night from the Pocono Raceway. Unfortunately, whether it was our passports canceling or some trouble with the weather over at our airport, we ended up stranded in Long Pond tonight, but we had a pretty good time while we were at it. Luckily, that won't be much an issue as we stay stateside next week and head to Sonoma, California for our next event. Until then, you've been watching coverage from the virtual Pocono Raceway live on FTN Broadcasting from the 15th race of the 2025 Integrity OCTANE Series. I've been your host, David Kreutz, commentating and producing. And if you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like on the stream and subscribe to the channel. If you'd like to tune in for more coverage, we have Thursday night's coverage of the Iora Cup Series at the Iowa Speedway. It's the second to last race of that league's existence and points-paying competition, and it's going to be an exciting championship race between Daniel Mosteller and Aiden Walker till the bitter end. We hope to see you next Tuesday live on FTN Broadcasting for coverage of the Octane Series once again from the virtual Sonoma Raceway. Until then, congratulations to Ethan Lane for collecting his second, of course, victory at this very venue at the Pocono Raceway and his 7th overall in the 2025 season. Thank you for tuning in. We hope you have a fantastic night.